Alright guys, I'm gonna show you how to change the alternator fuse in a W176 Mercedes A180. So there's the fuse box. So you just basically unclip this and you remove the cover. Now I made it easy for myself before I started recording this video. Now the fuse is in here for the alternator, so that's the alternator cable that's coming from here, and I'll unscrew it already. But the fuse is, you see this blue fuse in here? It's just like that one, but a bigger one, 300 ampere one. It's in here, so one end in here and the other end right at the bottom. So the easiest way to check if your fuse is gone is to do a continuity check. So you put one end of the multimeter here and the other end there, and put your settings on the multimeter into the where it shows a little speaker thing where it beeps. And when you put the two ends from here and there, if it doesn't beep, that means the fuse is gone. So in my car the fuse was gone, so I'm going to change that one. So the fuse I bought from eBay for about £3 I think. Once you have the fuse, so before you remove it, you have to unscrew. You don't have to, but I've done it because it's the battery terminal power cable that comes to the fuse box, so it's safer to remove that cable. And then I'll unscrew this one because this whole metal plate is connected to here. When you lift this up, you can't lift it up unless you unscrew this one. Unscrew this one and this one. You don't need to unscrew it all the way, as long as there is a little gap where you can move it around. You can halfway unscrew it, and then to get to the fuse you need to lift this complete bit up. So when you try to pull it out, it wouldn't come because it's kind of locked in there. Now I'll show you what it needs to do, because I couldn't find this I spent a lot of time trying to find this on YouTube. Just next to this cable, don't know if you can see this, when you go all the way there, let's see if I can get a better angle. Right, that gap right here, just here, this gap. See where I was pointing? Right there, this one. So what you're gonna do is you're just gonna put this in that gap. That little gap, and then you pull it this way, and that creates a gap between what's locking this whole panel. So I'm just gonna stop the video for a second. So what you're gonna do is you hold this in one hand and you pull this out with the other hand. Okay, so I have pulled this bit of the fuse box out. It's kind of tight, but don't worry about it. As long as you unlock that bit, then even though it's tight, you can just pull it out. It's not gonna break. Now what I'm gonna do is, this is where the fuse is gonna go, from this end to the other end, this bit. So what I'm gonna do is, if you want, you can remove all these nuts and take this whole thing apart, but what I'm gonna do is I'll just loosen this one a little bit, and I'm gonna pull this in one hand all the way out and just slide the fuse in here, and then afterwards I'm going to put everything back together. Alright, there you go. I'll put the fuse, and I'll lightly tighten up these two knots, and this one just leave it because you need kind of like a room to wiggle it around when you put it back in there, when you slot this bit inside. And you just slot it back in there. So this bit, make sure it goes in the right place and goes through here. And this knot you can tighten up later. Oh, I forgot to tighten these two, so I have to get it back again. So I'll put this panel back into the real proper place, slot it back in there. Before you do that, remember to tighten these two nuts that holds the fuse in there, which I forgot to do earlier, but I'll pull it out again and I'll tighten those two bolts, two nuts, and you have to tighten this one and the one that you unscrewed halfway. Make sure you tighten that one, and then you attach the cable, the power cable that comes from the alternator back in here. Make sure that's tightened up, and finally you just put this battery cable, the red battery cable, in its proper place and tighten up, and that's it, job's done. And that's how you change the alternator fuse.